Ella moved into the old house at the edge of town, the one that everyone warned her about. It was cheap, charming, and had a certain loneliness that matched the emptiness in her heart after her recent divorce. She didn't mind the creaking floors or the drafts that whispered through the cracks in the windows. It was hers now, a fresh start. But from the first night, something was wrong. At first, it was subtle, just the occasional creak or groan of the old house settling. Then around midnight, she started hearing whispers, faint, unintelligible murmurs that seemed to come from deep within the walls. She chalked it up to her imagination. After all, old houses made strange noises, right? But they didn't stop. Every night the whispers grew louder. First, they sounded like distant voices, barely audible, as if they were speaking in a language she couldn't understand. Then they began to take on more shape, clearer words she knew. Ella. Her name echoed from the walls, soft but unmistakable. Ella, come closer. The voice was calm, seductive, coaxing her to the hallway. At first she resisted, locking herself in her bedroom, convinced she was just hearing things. But the whispers didn't stop. They came at odd hours, and though they never seemed to belong to anyone, there was a sick familiarity to them, like someone was trying to draw her in. One night, unable to sleep, she finally gathered the courage to investigate. With a flashlight in hand, she walked cautiously down the narrow hallway, the wooden floor creaking beneath her feet. The whispers grew louder as she neared the wall in the living room, the place where they always seemed to come from. She pressed her ear against the cold, splintered wood, and the voices immediately grew frantic. Come closer, Ella. Don't be afraid. We're waiting for you. Her heart raced, but she couldn't move. Something compelled her to press harder, to listen more intently. The walls felt alive, like they were breathing. Then with a sudden jarring crack, a voice, deep, guttural, like it was coming from the very bones of the house, spoke clearly. We've been waiting for so long, Ella. The wall in front of her shuddered, a faint ripple running across the surface as if something inside was pressing against it. Her breath caught in her throat, and she staggered back, but the whispers didn't stop. In fact, they became louder, faster, more desperate. The floor beneath her feet seemed to vibrate with the energy of the voices, until the walls began to move. The plaster split with a sharp crack, and from within the wall, something crawled out. Thin, pale arms covered in deep scars reached through the cracks in the plaster and gripped the edges, pulling something else through, something twisted, deformed. Its face was a blur of smeared flesh, its eyes wide and unblinking, as though it had been waiting for her, starving for her. She screamed, stumbling back, but the thing was already halfway out, its grotesque fingers digging into the floor, dragging its body after it. We're here for you, Ella, it rasped, its voice a sickening blend of dozens of others. You've always known. We've always been waiting. Ella backed away, but the house seemed to close in around her, the walls contracting, the whispers now screaming her name. Ella! 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 With a final, horrified scream, she turned and ran. But no matter how far she went, no matter how fast, the whispers followed. They were always there, in the walls, in the floor, in the air she breathed. And she knew in that last terrible moment, as her legs gave out and the darkness took her, that the thing she had heard all along wasn't trying to warn her. It was waiting, and now it had her.